We need to mute YouTube. Yeah. And then go to Zoom.
What do you mean?
Well, then you should X out and go back to our Zoom meeting because we're on YouTube right now, right? Okay. And start video. There we are.
Good. Wonderful. All right, well, I'll officially call tonight's meeting to order. We'll go ahead and start off with roll call, if we may.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Chair Dorsey,
Present.
Vice Chair Zwingli here. Richard Emuchi,
Present.
Diane Foster here. Lawrence O'Keefe,
Here.
Marie Shaw is absent this evening. Mike Schultz,
Here.
Mike Smith,
Here.
and Chris West.
Here.
All right, great, thank you.
Wonderful. Has everyone had a chance to review the meeting minutes from last month? Yes. Okay, are there any updates and questions? Additions? Conclusions?
I move that we. What is it that we do? That we accept as presented. Second.
All right, we have a motion to accept the meeting minutes as presented in a second. Any discussion? All right, everyone's in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. So moved, those meeting minutes will be accepted. I'll have that for Andrew in today's meeting. Next, we're going to go through some board member announcements. And we will start to the right of me, Richard, I'm sorry, yeah, Richard.
So I saw on social media, there's a walk of remembrance happening next week for the Green and Kramer families who lost their daughters a year ago in the accident. The walk is going to kind of focus on pedestrian safety on Edie Road. So that's something that we should see a lot of community support for.
Is there a date and time on that?
It's Monday, it's
20th at 4.
20th, 4 p.m. And that is from the Ridges to Starbucks and back.
Okay. Lori, you have anything for us?
Just another reminder that the Sherwood Police Foundation's annual gala is coming up on April 28th. Tickets are now on sale through our website. You can access it through our Facebook webpage. We are looking forward to another great turnout. So please, if you are at all interested in coming, go get your tickets. And we look forward to seeing you there.
It's a blast.
It's fun.
We have a team.
We have it boots and bling.
Who's to blame? All right. And you have anything for us?
I wasn't sure, I didn't want to like talk a lot about it now, but it doesn't look like the traffic safety thing is on here. So do you want me just to like highlight two brief things now?
That would be great.
Is that okay? Okay. So two main things are actually both kind of as respects to that area in the high school. So you might have heard us talk about before that the end of the school zone was before the intersection where the kids cross the street. And now that sign has been moved to the other side of the intersection. So actually the school speed continues on through that main intersection on Hayde Road and Elward. Is that Elward? Yes. So that's one thing. And then
Can I mention something on that real quick? I commute that way every day and I've seen officers there in the morning very regularly alerting people of that new zone. So it's very good for everyone to know that it is active and being watched.
nice, yeah, thank you. And then, just secondly, also related to the high school, we received a whole report that the police are going to work on. Monitoring and collecting some data on, but just with the traffic flow around the high school during mostly drop off. I don't think as much pickup, but basically how it all sort of crowds out into the main areas because there's one entrance. And then the drop off is, anyway, it's just a little bit of a traffic flow issue that's causing a lot of backup. And so we received a report about it. And the police are working to collect data that we're going to talk about and have presented at our next meeting. Is that right?
All right, Lawrence. Anything worth, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I mean, a lot of stuff going on. I was hoping to bring you guys a nice steelhead photo this morning, but we got it to the boat. We didn't have our net ready. And, so too bad.
Rookie in time.
I just got.
Just recruiter you up, right? Sorry to hear it. We would have ignored the Safeway stamp on it. It was.
Well played.
Mr. West.
Yeah, I have something to share. I just told Mike about it. Saturday night, Tina and I had an event downtown Portland and we spent the night. And Sunday morning when we came out, the window was broken on the driver's side back window of my truck. They didn't really get much. My gun safe they took, but of course I had my gun with me. I would leave it in the car. But it's just a good lesson on not leaving valuables in your car. We first tried the 911 because it involved a gun safe. They didn't pick up. Yeah. Didn't pick up. So we cleaned up the inside of the car enough so that we could drive home at 8 a.m. on Sunday when it's freezing cold. Tina called the non-emergency and they picked up really quick. Which was, and because it had involved a gun safe and I had a clip in there, we got an officer call back by the time we got home. And that was really, I felt good about that. With all that we hear about the Portland and the 911 and their response time and with stuff like break-ins and stuff, it was good that we got that all reported and everything.
Which department responded?
Portland. Yeah, because we were at the Bill Governor of the Sentinel
Right.
on 11th is where we were. And the parking lot is an open air right next to at 11th and Yamhill. I parked there 24 times. That's because whenever I go to a meeting there, and we've done the same event many times, but lesson learned, don't leave stuff in. The other thing that I showed Mike, and I'll pass it around, Ty's seen it. I had to put something in the window because it's Monday, it was supposed to rain. And I had a leftover foundation yard sign that was faded on one side, so.
I love it.
So until I got it fixed Tuesday, I was driving around with that.
Now, do you need a new yard sign?
I have, because I got a new one at last year's event
Okay.
because that one on the backside was super faded, so.
Okay.
It's out just because besides rifling through the car and cutting out my safe, they took my the little holder that held registration and my insurance cards.
Yeah.
So, but they didn't take the garage door opener.
Well, that's good.
But we have lots of rings on our house and I figured having that sign in the window if they did show up. Plus I put the newer police foundation back in the yard. It had been in my garage. So Anyway, don't leave stuff in your car, especially if you're going downtown Portland.
It's kind of scary that you didn't get any response from 911.
Oh, I waited 7 or 8 minutes. And then I finally hung up and then I got a call back saying, you called and we got disconnected. Please hold the line. Or if you don't need us, push whatever number, and that's what I did. And so that I disconnect from that. And like I said, Tina looked up the non-emergency, and as we were getting on the freeway, she was connected and we had an officer by the time we got home. So that was, as I said, was reassuring. But it's still a hassle and a pain. And they didn't, the one thing, they went through everything and I had a Ziploc full with quarters, nickels and dimes because you used to do parking meters with coins. I never took it out. And they didn't take that. They pulled it out, but they didn't take it. It was too much hassle, you know? It's a pain.
It's heavy.
Well, it's big, I guess it's heavy too.
Yeah, right. It's heavy. Anyway, that's my share. So don't leave stuff in your car, even in the driveways at home.
And just to piggyback on what he showed us, his show and tell. So for you new folks, I am the liaison. I was originally appointed to the board as the liaison between this board and the Sherwood Police Foundation. So if any of you want one of those pretty little signs, I'm your girl. I can set you up.
Okay.
All right, Mike.
You know, I spent 30 years selling Portland as a wonderful destination for visitors and conventions. I'm so happy I retired. Things have obviously gone downhill a lot since I retired. Take full credit for that. I just want you know, I will not be here for the May meeting. I'm going to be spending about half the month in Costa Rica.
Oh.
That's all I got. I'm so excited.
Nothing to report.
This is not an official council thing, but many years ago, I was on the bond oversight committee when they were designing the school, and I asked the traffic analysis people, I said, it looks like there's gonna be a backup here because we don't have enough, and they're like, all the modeling we've done shows there will be no traffic on there's plenty of room through, there's plenty of through. And I'm like, are you sure? Because the current high school has this, and I explained it, having 5 kids that have gone through this school system, and I'm like, it looks like we need 4 lanes going in, and there, anyway. And so I'm glad my intuition as a newbie was right. But it's more expensive to fix now. I was looking at it on a piece of paper going, it looks like there's not enough drop off.
One thing they are looking at is, currently they keep the gate down in the back entrance just for the buses so that the buses don't get delayed in getting to the school. But they are taking a look at if the studies, when they built the school, showed that gate was going to be down. To not allow any sort of traffic to even do a circular motion to come out that way. So they're taking a look at that also in the original plans, it sounds like the city is. And then they're going to see if that was sort of what was contemplated or not, because we talked about maybe even just more of a natural flow and you go in one way, you drop off, you head out the other way, might just help with the drop off.
Yeah, the other issue is drop off and pick up, because at the end of the day, they're coming along Page Road and just parking there waiting for the kids to come out to them.
Yeah.
It's a no parking area, although it's not signed yet, and that will probably change rapidly.
We'll just take one individual out there directing traffic. So, you know, if the bus wanted to leave, they could stop the car traffic, let the bus out and then open it. You know what I'm saying? Manage well. But, all right, Marie is not with us this evening, so I just wanted to touch on what's going to be going on at the high school. Is that for active shooter training that's going to be coming up?
Yeah, we did it last week. And then we're doing it next week.
Excellent. Obviously, what's happening around the US with regards to schools and just shootings in general, it's much needed, and it's really comforting to know that that's a priority for both the district and the police department. So thank you for that. With my kids there, I know it's something that I think about from time to time, but yeah, some great folks over there. The SR was on it. So
And as you know, that school is so ginormous. You need to be a marathon runner to get through it. So it's been good training for everybody to kind of acclimate to it. It's important for all the schools within the district. We've been doing it for years, so this is not new. But the fact that this high school's new is just getting familiar and just trying to go through the school tactically. So as I said, next Wednesday, the other half of the department will be training there. And I think it's gonna go again out on social media just to remind people.
Yeah, good. And just want to make a quick statement that from time to time, we will get emails pertaining to personnel issues. And so that's not part of our charter, but just in case you see one coming through from a citizen or something, that's nothing we have to worry about.
So I do have a question on, we now have a advisory board email that somebody can send and it broadcast to all of us, the public. Is that how we're getting these?
On the city website, each committee and board has a link that goes to all the board members, so
All right.
this hasn't really gotten used.
Add our newbies on that.
They should be on
They should
there.
be on.
Oh, you didn't?
I didn't receive that.
Did you?
I
Sir?
did.
I didn't get the email.
Yeah,
I got your reply, so I don't think when he replied, whoever replied all, whatever that email was, I didn't see that one, but I saw you reply back.
Did you see the original emails that came in?
I did.
Okay.
yeah,
So we need to make sure we get you. Okay.
yeah, I better double check
I'll
that.
check with that first.
Yeah, thank you for letting me know.
All right. On to business. We got a little bit of the traffic report in there, but is there any business for the floor? This time? All right.
If we go attachment, and is this, you have the scaled down final survey results.
Yes.
So ended up being 667. We left out all the comments because there were no new comments from the last time you read it. And just that I will be putting out this week, just highlighting the priorities, not in any specific order of the top 5, the willingness to support this, and then just obviously the favorable for officers on shift. Keep it kind of short and sweet. And again, thanking everybody for obviously taking the time to do it. And then obviously that's going to segue into our next couple months of conversation, just, prepping for budget, for staffing for the next 3, 5, 7 years. So this will all come in handy.
That's all we formerly had. It was short-lived, it seems, a report that went out, annual report. PDF, it was about 7 pages or so. I think the last one came out in like 2000.
Yeah.
Is that something that you would entertain possibly for next year? Not this year.
That's a report.
Just a.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a staffing report. I really want to highlight, where we are, where we're going and what that's gonna take. And then
He's talking about the summary report that Chief Grubb did that talked about incidences, and it was kind of a summary of what we get every week with the
that'll all be in there.
Okay.
I'm gonna break down, I have historical calls for service self-initiated. It's gonna include our response times, our busiest hours, kind of how we staff, why we staff.
And the other thing that was in that annual report was types of incidents and stuff like that. So, because I think that I remember that report and it was really useful in terms of the kind of things that the PD was doing back then. We get a good sense every week with the weekly reports, which again, we love and the community loves. And I know you know that, Chief. But I think some kind of summary would be really helpful. Especially when we've got this support, we need to show them what you're doing.
Yeah, shoot, I'll send out. We did a summary at at our awards banquet.
Oh, okay.
Actually, Brian, you were there. So I broke down pretty much all of those, I think was to what your calls for service, warrants served, arrests made. We included, behavioral health components and the time that or the calls that we're involved in those. So there was a lot of good data that I'm happy to send out to you so you guys can read that as well.
Well, what we were thinking is it was a public for the community was the old report.
Right, and that'll be something we can do, but just because I know you were asking,
Yeah.
I'm happy to send it to you guys, as far as what we presented there.
Cool. So I do have a question, one with the weekly Facebook posts on. I'm just shocked at how many mental health calls there are. What are those ones that the team comes with or is that just,
Not a MHRT,
yeah,
not necessarily.
okay.
And so patrol's expected to deal, with it initially, and then if it escalates to a situation, a lot of times where the person that they're dealing with is just at a greater danger than we probably could deal with just our patrol resources. Or there's tools that we just don't have available that, we'll call MHRT. And to remind you, although Adam may not be working during that time, that clinician is still available. They're just either going to come from Tualatin or Tigard. So we're going to still have them here for us.
But that, Mike, I keep being blown away by the numbers that were posted in there and I'm going, how can even Adam or somebody else be dealing with that much in a week? But now I understand that it includes the ones that don't escalate to the MRT.
So, and I know we've talked about this. One of the things that we're trying to get all our officers through is the critical incident training, which is really the baseline for dealing with behavioral health, mental health issues. So we have a pretty good grasp and resource just for us as officers on how we work with these things. And then, like I said, as it escalates, we'll start bringing in other people, but we do deal a lot with those kind of calls.
Thanks.
I did right along with the Walton Valley Fire and Rescue, and the fireman that I was riding with said 90% of their calls could use a mental health person on it as well. So I don't think it's unusual for the police department. I was shocked by it, but then when I rode around with them, and it seemed like that day about 90% of the people probably could have used some mental health help. So
Who did you ride with?
let's see, Shoals Ferry group up there, C group. Shoals.
Charles and Hall.
Rosen Hall, that's what it was, yeah.
5:30.
That was it, yeah, you must know them.
I just retired.
Okay. Well, they were phenomenal,
These days.
yeah, I wanted to sign up immediately. They probably wouldn't have taken me, I got a few pounds to lose, but and some skills to get.
We got to see the promotion ceremony to sergeant for two of the officers, and when that happens, as far as you have a K-9 unit, what's the time frame for, is he still operating as both? Okay.
Yeah, so you're talking about Sergeant Gents,
Yeah.
correct? So yeah, he currently still has Miss B, and we'll probably run a process here when we know another K-9 school is going to be coming up. That's kind of, you got to coordinate those because whoever takes her needs to spend about 10 weeks in a class. So you don't necessarily want to have the dog handed off and not working. I mean, there's a bonding period, which is important too. So there's a little bit of timing. You want them to bond for a couple months and then send them to the school. So we're hoping that we'll have that person identified by this summer. If not late summer. And then Corey will just be a sergeant.
Other discussion with regards to this, the survey results? I think we've gotten a great chance to see them.
I want to bring something up, not about the survey, but about the social media post. I know there was a couple comments about stolen vehicles that were identified as having been stolen out of Portland and found in parking lots of Target, Walmart, and so on. There was also mention of someone who was warming up their vehicle and it was stolen from their residence. And I've heard a lot about stolen vehicles being much more prevalent nowadays. It is a couple mentions where vehicles stolen from Portland and brought here. So I wasn't necessarily expecting to see that vehicles are actually being stolen out of Sherwood. Is that a big problem or a rising problem that we're seeing here? Or is it more, the Portland Creek bringing vehicles here that they've stolen, having to do retail theft or whatever?
Typically, that's what it is. So our mass transit is pretty skinny here. We have pretty much one bus that comes in and out. So we don't have the max. So that's exactly what they do. They'll jump on a car. They do. It's for two reasons. Either they come out here because they have somebody that they want to come see, typically drug related or of that nexus. When they come out here, they come and commit their crimes and then they steal another car and they head out. We have cars stolen here more than I care to hear about. Unfortunately, when it's colder weather, everybody goes out and starts their car and, and lets it warm up and by happenstance, somebody walks by and sees the opportunity, they jump in, but the retail theft is obviously gone through the roof. It's not a secret or what we're dealing with. And that's where we pick up, I bet you, just guessing 75-80% of our stolen vehicles. It's just in those lots. One of our officers does, or actually Jason Christensen, the latest. Sorry, he's really good at patrolling that. He's very proactive in those parking lots and looking for them. Actually, all are, but he spends a lot of time in the parking lot for sure. So definitely a challenge. That's why the 9 p.m. routine is so important.
Yeah.
Lock your cars.
Is the retail theft picking up everywhere or is Sherwood being targeted?
It's everywhere, but we're far enough away that, they can come out, they're not known. That's part of the thing is they come out, they can hit us and be gone and be back, to Portland or wherever they're coming from. You look at downtown, they just smash the windows and take what they want. This out here, they can get in and get out pretty quickly as well. And as we've talked about, retail loss prevention has pretty strict policies on intervening with these kind of things. So that adds another layer that never used to be there.
I can remember in the 70s working in a Payless drugstore in Oakland while I was in college. And we were chasing people and tackling them in the parking lots.
Yeah.
That's what it was done back then,
Where you're seeing a lot more, I'm not here necessarily, but you see it in videos, a lot more citizen intervention. People are they're getting tired of it. They're stepping up and tackling people and grabbing people. Obviously we don't advocate that, but you can see there's a lot of frustration within communities. Unlike before. And the people are just so brazen. They just fill up carts. They don't care because they know nobody's going to stop them. So, interesting. Thanks for the question.
All right, that is all. We'll move on to council news. Thank you for joining us. We have a fill-in this evening.
The fill-in actually, yeah. Hey, you're getting the bottom of the batting on the So Taylor Giles, I think I've met several of you, but the big thing that I have that happened this week, kind of in the city, is I'm also the backup for the school board one, and as you know, they have recommended to pass a local option levy. There is, you know, a fair amount of concern as to whether or not it will pass, even though we are the only city in the area that does not have one of those. As we're continuing to educate the public, one of the things that's really key for them to understand is the bond that was passed was for the buildings and some curriculum. And for the safety upgrades, you know, I know all of the schools now have vestibules and lockable and, you know, the radios in the buildings and, you know, all of those things that are the safety things. None of it was for staff or programs or anything like that. And so, and that money is all still there. This would be for specifically the staffs and the programs, mainly just to stay competitive with what the community has come to expect. Now, I understand it's tough times, so they wanted to ask for the middle amount of money. They looked at the maximum, they looked at the bare minimum, and they went for the middle, which is maintain for their levy. And I think as a city council will probably I know we'll be in support of that, but as we're trying to share with community members of the reasoning behind it, we've also, you know, the quality of our schools is in direct relation to people wanting to move here. And in fact, they get less money or less house for their money when they come here because of things like the school. They're usually having to buy smaller places, or they're having to make other kinds of sacrifices. And we want to attract those kind of families to Sherwood because they see the value in the good schools, the good communities, the good parks, the good police department, you know, all of these things that they see as more important than having a bigger house. So as a city, what we're looking to do is support the bond to keep the schools that way. But I don't know how much you've been involved. One of the big projects we've been working on is the Sherwood West expansion, and there'll be different kinds of housing there to attract different kinds of families that are in different stages of their life. It's going to be the same thing though, where even if they're smaller houses, they'll hopefully be more affordable, but they will be, you could get that same size house in Canby or somewhere else for less money, right? And so again, you're paying a premium to come here, even if it's a starter home, because we need to attract some young families, or else the schools will be empty in 10 years, like it is in Lake Oswego, where they had to kind of open up to everybody from all over. And then you lose a little, I feel like you lose a little bit of the community feel if everybody just goes home to their own communities after school and you don't see each other at, you know, around town and things like that. So anyway, these are long-term problems that we're looking to solve. But they're important. So if you can talk to your friends about them and you know, have them bring concerns to the city council as well, that'd be great. But that's all for me.
Oh, I got a question for you.
Oh, sure.
You said you're the liaison to the school board?
I am.
I got a question for you.
Well, I'm the backup for that too. So I hope I know your answer, but I've been involved with them for a lot. So.
All right, so I have a child who is in the special ed program. And I just got word that the school has now cut the YTP program. Their advisor is already gone, which means that my son's program, which is supposed to be helping him be able to be more of a productive adult once he graduates high school, is now gone. And you're telling me, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but this is near and dear to my heart, obviously. You're talking about wanting to attract young families here to Sherwood. Well, the work I do, I represent children and their parents' dissolutions and divorces and modifications. I have noticed a tremendous uptick in my client load of children who are experiencing anxiety, depression. They can't get themselves to school on time. They can't stay in school for a whole day. They're going into these programs. They're coming out with modified diplomas, and you've just cut the program that's there to help them.
Yeah.
So why?
So that's a great question. And by the way, this is near and dear to my heart. My wife is the person who works in the counseling office and that center office and triages a lot of those people who are having difficulties all day, and she was cut. So it does speak to me personally, but also I have specifically mentioned to the superintendent that reduction in services of that kind are shooting ourselves in the foot, right?
Out and
Yeah.
bad mood.
Yeah, and I know that it's a smaller number of children, right, that are being affected. However, it is, it felt like, but just so you know, what they have to do just legally now, and I'm surprised it was already cut. I know they made some reductions. I thought there was only 2 staff members, so that may be one of them, but I know that they have to put a plan in place for if the levy does not pass. And frankly, this is just a union rule, but they have to tell all of the people who are going to be cut if the levy doesn't pass. And so, and they've got to tell them by the end of, before they know if the levy passes or not. And so there will be, I expect this to be a massive disturbance either way, right? I hope that the levy passes and they can bring some of these programs back and they can hopefully rehire some of these people, because it does feel like not a great solution to a terrible problem, right? Because frankly, we're going to lose those things. We're going to lose some of the CTE courses, which we're preparing some of the kids for trades. We're going to lose, probably some of the performing arts programs and drastic cuts, right? I mean, it's one of those things where there's no great option to it because they're 2 million short, right? And they just don't have the money there. I suggested, letting some football coaches go, and I got some punches from people that have kids in football. But my kids weren't, so I said, all right. But that's all I can tell you is they tried to make the initial cuts for things that were able to be done, but I also told them the same thing I just told you, that I don't think that the mental health is where you cut first, because and special needs as well, because it's a huge problem. We just heard about the police officers, right? Dealing with 90%. Mental health is a problem in general, and in our schools even more so, right? I know for the city, we have met with the school board and we have approved, we were going to split another SRO officer in the budget. And I think we're now taking the full bill on that. I think that's what we'd arranged for. And so we know that we need to do more, but again, the city doesn't have an unlimited amount of money either. And so we can't, we're doing some things that we can to help, like helping with taking care of their water bill. We're not charging them for that and stuff like that, to try to get so that the cuts that are made are not disproportionately borne by people with mental health problems.
Is anybody looking into grants that might be out there and available?
I can also guarantee you, one of the whole reasons I got into politics was because I saw how Jim Rose and other members of the school district stretched our bond money. We literally got 35 million extra dollars because of interest or because of grants or all of this other stuff. And so I know that they're looking into those kinds of things, but unfortunately, some of those things are not able to be used for like teacher salary or something. It could be used for a one-time, capital improvement or a one-time program or something like that, but it couldn't be for an ongoing thing. And so they're trying to be creative about it, but also, realistic that there's only so much to spread around. But just know, I've had that conversation with Dr. Lyons and he understands that that's not, I have to let him do his job, but I've told him that that's something that I'm not supportive of is influencing. And so I'd encourage you to come to the board meetings as well. And, let them know.
When's the next one?
It would be next. Let's see, Thursday, March
8th, I think.
Yep, I think it'd be March 8th. Well, no. Yeah. Well,
No, it's March 9th. Thursday, March 9th, isn't it? Isn't it the first?
I think it is, but this is one of the things that
Second, third,
I was just talking to you about is we've got to have a better calendar in the city for all of our meetings so that you all know.
March 8th.
March 8th.
March 8th, there we go.
What time are these meetings?
7's usually public and if they have a work session, it's before.
7?
Lori, I'll follow up with you because
Mr. Conference Board.
Is the school levy gonna be on the May
yes,
election?
yeah, May 16th.
But they have to make their cut plan by April, I think, just due to union rules. So,
As I understand it, the middle choice of that levy is still gonna involve cuts of some sort. Is that correct?
No,
Okay.
no, it's maintenance and I know a lot about this because I'm involved. There's 2 million that they're in the hole because of the projection mistakes from the previous administration. But the real issue is the 4 million that's a result of they've lost grants, teachers that were on grants have gone away. Things like a big hit from PERS that's been kicked down the road. Inflation has been a huge hit for them just for maintenance. And then lastly, all of us got the hit with the paid leave requirement that we're all paying in our, well, the school district has to pick that part up. That's the employer's part. So when you add inflation, the PERS hit, the paid leave, that's where the other, and also Salem dollars are down. We don't know what the final budget is. We won't know till July, but the projections coming out of the state are going down too. And that's where they came up with the $1.50 per thousand, which is the middle. They would have 125 to 175, and it raises 6 million in change, I believe.
yeah, they thought between 6.5 and 7.5, depending on a few things, but, and frankly, when people have talked to me in the public about it, they say, well, I already give a lot of money for education. And again, it's a subtlety that we have to explain. We do give more money to Salem than they give to us, right? Because of how the state has set up school spending. And so if you want to change that, we do need you to run for office, but it has to be done at the state level. This money would stay local and only for Sherwood schools. And only for, in fact, no administration costs at all. This would all be for teacher and staff and programs to, you know, and so again, I, you know, as someone who, as this is total anecdotal, but I one time went to have lunch with my wife and there was 6 students that came in crying during our 1-hour lunch. And I went, what is going on here? And she goes, oh, it's just, you know, regular day, you know, but, and I just, the fact that, you know, and so now they've cut her to halftime and they have somebody covering the front desk and this desk and students are signing in by themselves. And I'm like, Dr. Lyons, that's not an acceptable solution, right? It's, they need somebody there. And frankly, somebody's just gonna smile and let them cry, maybe take them to a back room, give them a snack from Costco and, you know, let them just take a moment to breathe, some of them. So anyway, but I share your concern. I don't think that it's a sustainable thing to cut those kind of programs.
It's a dangerous thing to cut those programs.
Oh, 100%.
It's vulnerable.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So I do know that it's one of those things where there weren't a lot, there were no good options. There weren't even any okay options. It was like, well, all of these things are bad. So anyway, sorry, that's not a real answer to your question, but just know that I share that same concern and have brought it up a couple of times. So let's raise the volume on
We'll be happy to help you.
it.
Do you have any more to speak to that new SRO position, when that will kick in?
I don't know. I don't know when it kicks in, but
So I think there's a lot still up in the air. And if I understood the levy correctly, the one that they proposed did support a second SRO. I just don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Financially. I don't know if there's still gonna be an obligation on the city side for part of that. So some of that has to be worked out. I do know that when the school board and city council met, there was that discussion about having some kind of support one way or the other with that second SRO for at least the next couple of years. So whether that's through the levy, correct me if I'm wrong, or councils has agreed to somehow supplement that for the PD to pick up another body and have that second SRO in there. I would like to say 100% definitively, coming next year, we're gonna have the two. That's what I'm hoping for and pushing for. We just got some balls in the air that we're trying to figure out where they're gonna land, so.
yeah, and I think it was more like we were willing to pick up their half of it, you know, as a loan that they could pay us back on, if the levy passes. You know, it's the same thing with, you know, we're picking up their water bill. At a certain point, we'd love to have that, and you know, and other things, right? You know, they were gonna donate the land for the bridge that was, that's going over the pedestrian bridge, but now we're having to buy the land. And so, you know, again, there's only so many buckets of money and they're not endless. And so we've just got to figure out what to do with, to be good stewards with the money we have. So we're asking Salem for extra money on certain things. We're asking, you know, I know the school district is doing the same thing with trying to find money anywhere. So.
With that second SRO, I don't know if you've heard, but we've started dedicating officers off a day shift to make sure that they're present in the middle school. That was one of the things that we talked to the school district about, that we would try to get a body in there in some way, some form. So it's been well received. The officers are coming back saying everybody's very happy to see them in there and engaging, and I think for a couple of them, it's been eye-opening, just the need for an officer to be in there and support that it's giving staff and students. So it just speaks to what everybody in this community is asking for. So hopefully we can make it happen. That's the goal.
And I tell you, my seventh grader said the cool thing at their school is to get the police sticker and for their water bottles. And so he's like, Dad, are you going to that meeting? Can you get a sticker? I'm like, I don't know if they'll have the stickers present, but. I'm just saying that the fact that you guys can make a police sticker cool to a seventh or eighth grader is a minor miracle, right? To make that. I don't know, it's great. I love that relationship. So as a school, as a city council, we're certainly supportive of it.
Chief,
So.
trading cards.
I know. That's on the to-do list.
Well, thank you very much, Taylor, for your input and sharing that information with us. We'll move on to staff reports.
That's me.
Yes.
Yeah, I got a lot, but I'm gonna go fast since we've talked on, or touched on a bunch of them. As you know, Randy Johnson retired last week after 22 years. Super, great man, gonna be dearly missed, but on top of that, we have 3 more that we know about this year. So we're gonna be working through those, probably hearing a couple, I mean, they're gonna be staggered throughout the rest of the year. And then obviously that always brings promotions, which you saw yesterday. Geez, I can't even keep track of what it is. Jason and Corey, and I said it yesterday, but it was unique in the fact that these two each have 25 years of experience. And so it's not very often that you get on the back end of a career or a retired career and come into a supervisory role. So they just come in with a wealth of knowledge and experience, which is going to be tremendous for us moving forward. Because we're in this cycle of kind of all the old flushing out over the next 5 years and really need to set all the younger officers up for success. And so that's going to be really important that they're here and even the next sergeants coming up. But that was fun. That one I didn't cry in, so that was good.
Can I ask a question?
Mhm.
So, and I know you've answered this before and I have misplaced the answer. Are we fully staffed now, taking into consideration the retirement of those three? Or are we gonna have to be back in another hiring cycle?
Great question. We are going to be in a continuous hiring cycle for a number of years. And we've come up with a term, and this is going to be a lot of our discussion moving forward, career cycle planning. Because I mean, it's in every, especially in like fire or police, where there was a time where we hired a bunch and they all go through and then they all fall off and then it's always like this. And so we're up here now and we're having a lot of them retiring and we're trying to catch up in being progressive in that, and the fact that we know now, as it stands today, 18, 20 months before you're seeing an officer. Currently, we have four that won't see the road probably for 20 months. From the day we hired them to the day they become a functional police officer in the city of Sherwood. That's problematic. Never used to be that way. 10 months to a year, that's why laterals are like a gold. If we can get them, they cut that down to 4 or 5 months. But if we're on the continued road that we are because of DPSST and funding, this is going to be our challenge. So to your point, Lori, yeah, we're looking at how can we get ahead of it. We know that 3 are gone this year. So we need to try and get them hired and trained as much as we can before they're gone, because then we're going to be back in the hole. And that's just to stay status quo.
Mhm.
That doesn't include anything that we want to do. Sherwood West, our growth, all the challenges that we're having. So we got some work ahead of us, but I think it's doable. It's just we're just collecting all the data and to your point, Chris, just having that presentation so that people understand where we're at.
We need to talk about making that more publicly known, maybe at the gala or something,
Which part?
the need.
Yeah, well, it's actually, we're talking about budget now. So, that's why I'm really working hard now and probably next month, it'll be pretty heavy for my topic is what we're doing. And I'm going to have a lot of data for you guys to look at so that you better understand what I'm going to be asking for. What I'm going to get and need feedback from you. The staffing plan is part of that. There's a lot of balls in the air as far as that goes. And the one thing I really want to stress, and this is kind of hard to deal with, is that everything that I'm doing now, we're not going to see for 2 years. And that's where the struggle is. If I get approval for bodies, our investment is heavy on the front end. And that's it's a heavy lift, a heavy ask when you're asking, because everybody's got their hand out right now, unfortunately. And you're like, okay, well.
Well, and not only that, so my professional job, I'm in staffing industry for healthcare, but we go to these sessions and one of the keynote at this last one said, we have the same graduation rate that we had about 20 years ago. We have 200,000 less high school graduates because we're having smaller families now than we did 20 years ago. And so there's in this area, he was talking about the West Coast. He said there's 200,000 less people looking for jobs than there were, and so even though we've grown as a community and people and all, and so even the fire department, they were saying there was 5-10 years ago, there was 5 jobs all up and down the coast. There was 70, they pulled up the page and found 75 that were looking for firefighters and different, and it wasn't just seasonal. This was like full-time lateral moves, promotion, whatever. And so this is not an easy problem to solve. We have to be creative and, that's where attracting with, hey, lateral move. I know Officer Christensen was one of these people who was like, he lived here forever. It's a great place to live, you could work in a place that's a little bit safer, a little bit, better school, and trying to attract with some of these other things might be our card we have to play, which, rather than, competing on some of the other stuff. So anyway.
On that note, I can tell you, I think we have 4 or 5 lateral officers that I know have an interest in coming here. Yeah, and it's because of, I think they see the support of council, they see the support of this community and what our department represents, and that's a big deal. I mean, just from what we're doing, our interaction with the community, the sabbatical program that we've implemented, the priority of health and wellness with our officers is a big deal nowadays. And so we're being noticed and we need to continue on that track because the challenge we have in front of us for literally the next 10 years. And I can't even begin to think about Sherwood West. That's just, I'm just trying to think about what our little community is right now, but we'll have some fun challenges, I think, to strategize about, but I call it fun because it's just gotta be, I mean, so real quick, I don't think anybody mentioned it, but March, we got Bowl with a Cop.
Yes.
What day is that, Lori? We talked about it and I forgot.
We talked about it, but they didn't know.
Okay, I think it's right before spring break, so we'll get some more information out. We'll start getting it out on our social media so everybody knows, but.
Monday
I
night.
think it's on the Monday of spring,
Oh, is it the Monday of spring break?
the Monday of
Shoot,
spring.
okay.
Oh, I thought they said, they were saying the Monday before, I think.
Well, I guess we're gonna have to check. I can't remember. It might be the Monday of spring.
Calendar?
Back to new officers.
Mhm.
I noticed yesterday Walton stole a Sherwood kid that graduated here. Austin Goldstein was just their newest recruit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I knew him and his family, just, all the kids are now grown, but I saw it on Facebook and wow.
He'll be a lateral done.
That's right. We'll take him. We'll get him back.
We'll let them break them in and then.
Train them all up and then kind of like the Newburgh steal.
Yeah, I know.
There was a really important, and I think somebody from the police department was there's an important meeting the school district was having with the city council and local businesses to try to create more business connections into the school to say, hey, like we got Lamb Research that's just opened up their new office, and we've got this the German DW Fritz that's got, I was amazed at their automation plant, and they've now got a massive one anyway. And for the police department, for the city, we need to expose our high schoolers to these career options. We've talked to Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue, and they're interested in doing some stuff to try to, again, just get people, CPR certified, which might lead to EMT, training or physician assistant or something, all of these things, because sometimes they just don't know that these kind of careers are options. And so that might be a place where we can plug the police department into the schools.
Do they still have a career day there?
Yeah, they do, but this would be more like more programs, right? To be able to say, hey, we want you to get exposure to this over a longer period, right? And I know the police department has some things like that, but I'm just saying that, yeah, the school district is open to all of those kinds of things. So if the committee here wants to put together some recommendations and present it to the school board, I'm sure they'd be open to that, to try to get new bodies and new recruits. So.
I feel like the city of Hillsborough does a good job, don't they, with implementing, I see a lot of their posts about sending businesses into their school district. I mean, of course, it's a huge school district, but I've noticed that they post when various businesses or different industries are coming to their high schools to they do a presentation, Brian, and kind of about like what their job is or what the industry is, just to expose kids to like brainstorming ideas about what certain careers are.
Yeah. That's exactly what's going on. This is the first meeting of it, but we had 20-something businesses plus the city plus, you know, I don't remember if we had police representation, but we'll lump that in with the city to try to get, because it was very well attended and very well received, so.
So, I have budget prep down here, but obviously that's going to, as I alluded to, that's going to be conversations that we can have as far as some of the challenges and priorities of what we're going to want to set out there. I already talked about the academy challenges. Still no end in sight for that. There has been talk about some regional academies, which I'm in favor of, but as those discussions have unfolded, we've realized that all the facilities that can handle these are already busy. Washington County, they have great training facilities, but they still have their cops that they're trying to maintain and get through, and cutting out 16 weeks and dedicating it to an academy is all of a sudden just now that has become problematic. So I know there's continued talk about that. Everybody's really dealing with Portland, especially. I think they have just over 100 waiting to get through the academy. 100 cops just to get through the academy, plus they're down, you know, obviously down several hundred more. But it's definitely a unique time for law enforcement. The last thing I want to talk about is we're in a long session down in Salem, legislative session, 180 days. I was just going to read some stuff for you. And one is relative to us, but looks like nearly 2,000 bills have been introduced. Another 1,000 roughly are expected to come in the next few weeks. With that, you know, there's plenty of police reform related bills that are on the table. If you're not familiar with Oregon Association Chiefs of Police, we actually have a lobbyist that has worked full time for us, Kevin Campbell, the Victory Group and his family. They're fantastic. He's been doing it 28 years. Does that sound about right, Angie?
His dad was Speaker of the House.
Yeah. Fantastic family that actually is down there advocating on behalf of law enforcement and, you know, really tracking bills, really trying to squash bills that are bad for law enforcement in general across the state, because anybody can put anything out there they want. And there's, you know, you see some crazy things, but one of the bills, one of the bills that I went and testified Monday on is House Bill 3035. And I think you guys are familiar with Representative Neron, Courtney Neron, who represents our district. I've been working with her for the last year, and actually Kevin Barton, the DA, on this bill, and it's related to threats of mass harm. And this was really sparked by Middleton Elementary threats last year. They tried to implement or introduce something similar to this back in 2019, but it didn't gain any traction. So this year, they've gotten quite a bit of support, and essentially the nuts and bolts of it is they want it to be a Class C felony for threatening and expressing the intent to carry out a mass injury event targeting. And there's some conversation about what that number will be. It was originally introduced as 2, but you know, there's some discussions as to whether it needs to be more than that, 3 or 4. But and essentially, this will prevent, you know, obviously people from purchasing firearms if they have that conviction. And it gives us the ability for law enforcement to actually go out and lodge them versus, because right now, if you remember back then, he was arrested on disorderly conduct. And so it's a misdemeanor. And by all accounts, we probably could have just cited and released him from the scene, which was more than likely what we would have done in any other circumstance. Or he would have gone to jail and been out within 2 hours. That didn't solve the problem, because if you recall, the ripple effect and the panic and fear that ran through this community was pretty high. And I've still gotten emails and inquiries about that incident and what's going on about this individual. This isn't a cure-all, but it's a tool when needed, gives us the ability to slow somebody like this down potentially. Determine what the kind of resources they might need even before a potential conviction. I mean, obviously, they would still have their due process, but if they're at least detained, we have the ability to sit down with them and figure out exactly what's going on. And one of the concerns and questions that have come up with this bill and some of the pushback we've gotten is that they don't want juveniles getting caught up in being a convicted felon. You know, because kids will say wild things and, you know, they could say that they're gonna come in and kill or shoot a bunch of people up, and by definition of this, that could fall under this. The one thing that's really cool about our schools is what makes it different in my mind is we are on those threats immediately. We hear about it, the school is immediately engaged. We're engaged, parents are engaged, all of these resources just hone in and we are able to deal with it on the spot versus an adult, which many times a lot of these threats are coming from adults already outside the system. And they don't have, we don't have those kind of tools to go after them. I mean, we simply either have to wait or we have to figure out how we can be creative like we were with this person. We were fortunate enough that the feds picked it up, thankfully. Because like I said, he would have been out pretty quickly. So I bring that up just because it's important that you know that our representative took it seriously. She's worked really hard on this thing, and it was good to go down and testify on behalf of it Monday. And I'm hoping that we're going to gain the traction or continue the traction in conversations with them to hopefully have it passed. So, and then obviously there's a whole bunch of bills out there that if you're interested, I'll send you the link. But I think that's all I have.
I have a question. Can you remind me the portfolio that the two captains have? What their responsibilities are?
So we have the patrol captain.
Who is?
Oh, that's Dan O'Loughlin.
Okay, so.
So
okay.
he oversees all the patrol side, sergeants, patrol officers. Then you have the services side, which is John Carlson. So he oversees detectives, SRO, evidence, admin.
Okay, I wasn't sure who was assigned to which, so thanks.
Who are our current sergeants?
Our current sergeants are Jason Christensen, Corey Gentz, Nathan Powell, Chris Asla, and we still have John Shields on.
Oh,
So he's sticking around because of our recruits and the timing of when they can hit the road. So we have to have somebody hit the road so that he can then go. We had a little bump in the road because one of our recruits is being deployed for a short stint, I think 6 weeks. So it kind of halted their training. So now thankfully John's here. So he's willing to stick around and cover the road for us until they get back, and then hopefully they'll be able to hit the ground running.
any thoughts on the next Citizens Police Academy?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I have it written right here.
Yeah.
Angie?
I think we talked about the first weekend of June.
Yeah, June 3rd. I could probably look. It's that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right? So we did talk about that, and actually this would be a great question. We had 5 people put in for last time. Is that, I think,
At the most, yeah.
so the conversation has come up and about, do we open it up to the public and how do we open it up? And what's that mean? And is there a criteria that we need to set for? I don't think we can do more than 15 people. I mean, that doesn't sound like much, but it's a lot of work. And so I mean, for it to be impactful and valuable for the attendance and the workload for us, it's probably would be max. Obviously, we highly encourage everybody that's on this advisory board and the foundation and city council to attend. So, that could almost fill this one up, depending on who's going to be there. And then outside of that, if we're gonna open it up, kind of what that looks like.
So when in June?
Now I stopped looking. Hang on.
So it's the first 9th, 10th, 11th, or,
No, I think it's the first, second, third,
oh, okay.
because we're gonna do it Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Mhm.
We wanted to do it before school was out. We need to do it before cruising. Yeah, we got cruising Sherwood, graduations and all those things where people are just gonna be tied up. So we thought if we can squeeze one in before everybody vacates and.
I honestly like the idea of, I think when the original one was done, weren't there applications that other people got to come, or was it only,
Invite only.
invite only? Not the one that we didn't do, but the original one still was invite only?
Yep. Yeah, because it was kind of the test run.
Okay,
So you just wanted to make sure you had people that we knew and could give us feedback.
right.
And then obviously we didn't do it for 3 years now. So we're kind of almost back at stage one.
Stage testing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I do like the idea of teaching other people who don't know as much about the department as, I think it would be good for this group, but I also would love instead to teach somebody else about the department. If that makes sense,
And that's something like a spot at the academy could be an auction item, maybe for the foundation or for, senior grad night parties or something. Cause I see it as something that's like a desirable thing I would want to be a part of.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Except it's free.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. But getting the invite is the.
Yeah, but you can, just like at Tri-Counties.
Well, but here's the difference. Somebody that really is buying the seat that. Yeah, that would be my one concern.
So, on an unrelated note, I happen to also be looking up the FBI Citizen Academy. And just the first sentence that they have is, they say it's for business, religious, civic, and community leaders for an inside look into the FBI. And the write-up about it, and the kind of things that you learn is that it might be something that we could take some sheet notes off of. Because it makes it sound like, as a civic leader or as a business leader or a religious leader, it might be good to just kind of strengthen those
ties, yeah.
those ties. It'll make, levies easier to pass. It'll make fundraisers easier to have as we get more people. I was converted to a huge fan of TVFNR by doing that one day. And frankly, sharing it on social media and doing all, it was the most positive publicity I've gotten on my social media accounts for years, so.
And I've attended the FBI Academy. It was really a broad spectrum across some. I was included, so of course, very high level.
Well, and by the way, that's 8 weeks, it's a much bigger thing. I'm just saying, we scale that down, but I think that it's one of those things where getting an inside look into a police department for both, and I love that you think, hey, the grad night thing, because and if it's not this is a prize you win instead of a TV, it is something that you have to experience, you might be able to take care of your concern about only getting people that want to be there. If it's something in boots and bling, and I'm having to bid for it, and I'm bidding, $500 for it, I want to be there, right? I want to get that inside experience, right? I don't know.
Yeah, except you might be really ticked off when you got there and figured out that nobody else had paid.
Everybody else was free.
Well, yes and no, but you also know it's a fundraiser, right? I
Yeah.
mean, when I,
It's going to a good cause.
yeah, like I'm there to give money to the police department. And if I get something cool out of it, right? I mean, I know police departments that just, they'd auction off. Frankly, yeah, I'd come and work out with you guys and try to, or go to the shooting range or something, you know what I mean? Like, I do those kind of things just to, frankly, I'd sit around, have coffee and just hear cop stories for a couple hours for $100. So, you know what I mean?
What about a drawing? You remember what do we call it? That sin basket?
Basket.
Similar kind of thing, $20 and we draw a couple out and then,
That's a good idea.
so then people who have an interest, then they can put the money in. And if they don't, they won't. And, we reserve 2 spaces for it. Something like that.
That
Might be a little easier.
$500 to do something and you get more of a well-rounded
Yeah,
representation of a community member.
Yeah.
that'd be great.
We guys making allies out of the business community, because that'll go a lot farther, because they'll not only be able to speak to what the police officers do, but they have that influence. They have audience already with people coming into their business or conversations with other business owners or community members. So, yeah, I really like that.
And our chair of the foundation happens to be the CEO of the chamber, right?
Mhm.
So there's a direct connection right there, right?
Yeah.
It's not me. No, it's not me.
Renee,
Renee. Yeah.
So I can't remember how many have been to the academy. It's just you, Chris, right? Did
no,
you?
I didn't, I was gonna go,
Lori.
Just Lori?
yeah.
Okay, so who would have an interest in going here? So
Sign up.
4, 5, 6?
Asked about it.
Yeah, okay, so,
Hmm.
and then I don't know how many on the foundation. So while you were part of council, so I think there would probably be 2 or 3 on council.
We
Okay,
have any school board members that are interested.
yeah. Oh, I forgot about the school board. Yeah. We did talk about them originally because we did invite them,
We did.
but I think we gave them kind of the last minute invite, didn't we?
Yeah. I think there was one person.
I bet Jeff, they would go.
Yeah, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know the others as well.
We got 3 new school board seats up in May.
Yes.
Oh, who's seat, I
I
mean,
wonder why they didn't want to run again. That's weird.
are they vacating it or?
There's the 2 that are interim that were fills, and Jessica has finally said she's done.
Yeah.
For quite some time.
Yeah. And all of his are out.
Please, like.
So Jeff said he's running, but his
This is
seat
the
is one of the ones that's
temporary.
open. And I don't know, I haven't talked to the other ones about their intentions.
All right. Yeah, I think that's all I have.
All right, well, thank you, chief, for that. Do we have any citizen comments?
No, nobody.
Where's Nancy?
We locked her out. No, she
Was planning on coming, but she must have changed her mind.
yeah, she's probably watching. Do we?
I was
Do
gonna
we have
say,
a viewer cam?
Oh.
Oh, we'd have to go to YouTube.
we're just gonna watch it back.
Yeah.
One of the 2, for sure.
Nancy.
All right, well, with all of that said. Do I hear a motion?
Second.
All right, we have a motion to adjourn. It's been seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you all for your service and time this evening. We'll see you next month.
Early meeting, nice to meet you. Sir, come in.
Work on this.